Welcome back to LTR Gaming, and I am Troy. Hope everybody's enjoying this Sunday. In this particular video, we'll be talking about Cyberpunk 2077. At this particular moment, everybody in the world is particularly playing this game. This is a game that has been highly sought after. This is a game that has been in development for the last 8 to 9 years. Some people say 10 years. CD Projekt Red has been working on this game. And it's been out, and it's been very controversial as far as the release and the state of the release. The game has been delayed several times. And you would think that at this particular moment, that this game, at the release of it, it would be a celebration. It would be a sign of relief for CD Projekt Red, and that, you know, they can let their hair down and they can rejoice that they put out another masterpiece. But actually, it's the opposite. A lot of gamers are not happy. A lot of people are not content with what the product they receive, including myself. Now, I first want to say this is also a review. This is also a critique of the game. This is a game that I bought with my own earnings. This wasn't a review copy that was sent to me. Anything of that nature. No one's sponsoring this channel. So this is, you know, my honest, heartfelt thoughts on the game. And I'm going to share with you guys my personal experiencing 10 hours into the game. I'm not going to share with you guys a lot of the, you know, the push button, the knee-jerk moments or the knee-jerk glitches and things that I can harp on that everybody else on the internet is harping on at the moment. It's easy to do that if you're trying to get views on your channel to, oh, well, the game is glitching and it's doing this. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about the experiences that I had and that I have. And I'm going to talk about what I think the future is. I'm also going to talk about what I think CD Projekt Red should have done. They shouldn't have released this game. Now, I understand this game has been delayed several times. I think it should have been delayed again. I also think this game should have been a next generation game. And I understand that might piss a lot of people off because this game was supposed to be a last gen game. It's supposed to be a PS4, Xbox One game. It was supposed to come out months ago. But God forbid, could you only imagine if this game would have came out when it was actually expected to come out? What state it would have been in? I mean, you think it's horrible to play on those consoles now. You probably wouldn't have been able to experience it. The business practices that CD Projekt Red decided to do surrounding this game's release in the embargo made me scratch my head. The things that they did kind of reminded me of things that EA and Ubisoft would do. Ubisoft just put out Assassin's Creed Valhalla. While that game has a ton of bugs, it still looked good and it ran pretty well, and hell, it was a pretty good game. I'm still playing it. It's one of probably the better Assassin's Creed games I've played in a long time. But then again, Odyssey was pretty good as well, I thought. But to not allow reviewers copies of the console version of the game prior to the release of the game, or let's say maybe a day or two before the actual release of the game, knowing that the game had bugs, that's shady, man. And I think in the eyes of a lot of gamers, they've lost a lot of credibility in the eyes of a lot of people. I personally think. I think they're going to have to win back a lot of clout that they've lost. Look, The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt came out janky. It came out with a lot of issues. They had to put out a lot of patches for it because the game wasn't running right when it launched. It came out to be a great game. Hell, they even threw in a ton of free DLC. DLC was even great. I played that, ran that back a couple of times. It's a hell of a RPG too. But then again, this wasn't Cyberpunk though. Cyberpunk was supposed to be that futuristic game, that game that's supposed to be the RPG of all RPGs. I mean, could we even rank Cyberpunk 2077 up there with Skyrim? I mean, will Cyberpunk 2077 be the Skyrim of RPGs going forward? Now listen, Bethesda, I'm not saying that they make their games any better than any other company. I mean, they're synonymous with having bugs, and actually it's a charm to their actual graphics and the engine that they use in their actual games that people give them credit for and actually give them a pass, but there's still a decent game underneath Skyrim. I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 for about 10 to 15 hours now. And it has that same lore, to be quite honest. And the lore that I'm talking about is the story. The story is a solid story so far. Really been enjoying it. But I've been pulled out of it several times. The immersiveness. When you're playing an RPG, you kind of want to get immersed in the game. You kind of want to get cloaked in whatever that universe is, whatever the issue of that universe is, or the protagonist player that you're playing as. You kind of want to take on their issues and, be that white knight and champion the cause of whatever the cause is in that game. And I kind of wanted to do that in Cyberpunk 2077. But I've got screenshots here that I'll share with you of chopsticks floating in the screen and guns floating in the screen and cars floating and things of that nature. And I'm like, well, you guys had 8 years or over 8 years to critique and make sure that this game was great, and these are the small things that you couldn't even correct. Like the example text in a billboard, you guys couldn't just have a quality check before you released this game. But then again, you said you did, because the last few weeks you said that it went everything, and you said that the last few weeks the game was running great on last gen hardware. And come to find out, now that we know that it wasn't, we can then deduce that you were actually lying to us, the consumers. And I'm kind of perplexed that why would you even lie? Why would you even take that stance to deduce that you would rather hide the state of the game so that you can secure those pre-orders that you had? Now listen, people pre-ordered this game years in advance. But I also think that if people knew the state of the game that they were going to receive for last gen consoles prior to the game coming out, they probably would have canceled a lot of those pre-orders. Not saying that some people wouldn't have kept them, but for the most part, some people would have went to the store and said, hey, I'll check you out 6 months from now when that patch come through, or when you have a next gen version of the game readily available that has a proper HDR running, right? When is that going to happen? Ray tracing running? But then again, I understand everybody doesn't have a PS5 and the Xbox Series X, but I do. And this is my video and this is my personal experience with the game. All is not bad and all is not lost. Gameplay is solid. Shooting is solid. This is an RPG with first-person shooting components, and first-person shooting holds its own. I kind of thought that it wouldn't because it's an RPG, but it holds its own. Guns are pretty good. Movement. What I really liked was the abilities. What I also liked was the augmentations. The fact that you can pretty much augmentate every part of your body to make it better, to advance it, to make you pretty much unstoppable, a god, is great. Now, I haven't leveled up my character to the god-like ability, ultimately which you will become, but I'm on my way there. And the few abilities that I do have, like I recently met the cyber doc, or the doc that pretty much gives you the augmentations. he augmented my eyes and he augmented my hand, and I kind of found that to be pretty cool, and I respected that, and I liked the way that felt. But at the same time, I like that component of it. I like the skill trees and the fact that there's sub-skill trees into that as well. And the fact that if you like to play melee, well, the more you use melee weapons, the more proficient that you become at melee weapons. If you like to use guns, the more proficient you become at using guns. I wish more RPGs geared that aspect of gaming towards that way of gaming when you're playing RPGs. Night City is pretty cool. I started out the game as a Wasteland Wanderer. Maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong. My background was pretty much an outcast or Wastelander. I started out from the Wastelander and made my way into the city. And coming into Night City, playing the version of the game, which is the Xbox One X version, is cool. It's serviceable. The city is pretty big for the most part. I don't see what the issue is as far as the size of the map. Now, I haven't been to every part of the map, but it's a pretty decent, serviceable size map. There's a lot to do in the city. The city doesn't feel lived in. It feels like there's a lot of people just in the city. Like there's just a lot of NPCs in the city, but with no rhyme or reason. Like they're just there. They look good. Every store you can't go into, every NPC you can't interact with. And I kind of thought that was interesting because the way they advertised this game, you kind of thought that this was going to be that game, the end all be all RPGs, the game that makes you feel like, yo, this is the game that gives you that real to life type, cyber post-apocalyptic or post-cyber world. And it really didn't give me that feel. But then again, I'm only 10 to 15 hours into the game, so maybe it might get me there at some particular point. I did experience some, bugs in the game, some missions I couldn't start. There was one particular mission where I was trying to meet up with my companion initially. I had to go, it was just early in the game, I had to go to the Second Amendment shop in my apartment building complex, and I had to go retrieve my gun. Once I retrieved my handgun from him, I had to go get on the elevator, go downstairs to meet my companion, but for whatever reason I couldn't complete the mission or start the mission because the elevator wouldn't allow me to press the button to go downstairs. So I then had to reload my last save point to then start that over so that I then could do that. And that sucked. That kind of took me out of the game. NPCs talking without moving their mouths, that kind of took me out of the game. Objects floating in the middle of the screen or objects popping into the middle of the screen, that took me out of the game. Vehicles floating, vehicles not colliding or not understanding the collision component. Me running into a vehicle and going through the vehicle took me out of the game. So there's things that RPGs are supposed to do to immerse you in that world. And Cyberpunk honestly took me out of the game in a lot of those elements. And I thought that it wouldn't, but it did. But the story, for some particular reason, keeps drawing me back in and continuously keeps making me want to go back and play this game. But I don't know that it will draw a lot of other gamers back in, because it's going to take patience for people to want to really overlook what CD Projekt Red did here. They put out an incomplete game. And I get it. Some people are willing to overlook things that others aren't. I'm in a Facebook Xbox group, and we were talking about this game. It's highly discussed in the group. And some people have the mindset that, the game is out, people are complaining, people are always going to find something to complain about. They're having a great time and they're enjoying the game. And they have that right to feel that way. And it's great. But we can't overlook the people or the mass amount of people that aren't, and that are reporting massive amount of issues. And Then to put the cherry on top, CD Projekt Red then touting that they have had a record number of pre-orders and that they actually have recouped the production costs to create the game. I mean, that's kind of slap in the face. I mean, who do you tell that to? And why do you tell that to your consumers when they're not satisfied with the product that they received? I mean, I think if this was any other company, such as an EA, Ubisoft, I mean, look at Mass Effect Andromeda. They killed EA for that. I killed EA for that. I wish they wouldn't have made another Mass Effect game. They would have left Mass Effect 3 as the last Mass Effect game, due to the fact that those 3 Mass Effect games were just legendary trilogies. And you just couldn't make a better game other than just starting a new trilogy in that particular universe. And they failed at trying to start a new trilogy. And I'll let them know that. The game was junky. The game had no rhyme or reason. The plots didn't make sense. So why does CD Projekt Red gets to get a pass? And why do they get to alienate last gen gamers? There's millions and millions of gamers still playing on the PS4 and the Xbox One. There's far less people playing on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S. You have far more people pre-order the game on PC and the PS4 and the Xbox One. Why wouldn't you ensure that those copies of the game run the best than just the PC version? And that's not just to say that the PC version is the superior version, because from what I've been hearing, those versions aren't running at its most optimal, capabilities as they should. But then again, CD Projekt Red just put out a statement that they have some hotkeys that they're working on for the consoles version, such as the PS4 version, and that is out actually at the moment, and that they're working on the Xbox and the PC hotkey. Pretty much an update, another update. So we're just sitting ducks and we've paid our $60 for a game, and if we want it to be fixed and to run respectively, we gotta wait for the hotkeys and updates. Well, when I booted up this game, it was a 45 gig update. Now I gotta wait for another update. Again, how is that fair to the consumer? I thought we were past putting out products that are not complete, products that do not live up to the advertised product. Hello Games. And the reason why I bring up Hello Games, because they are guilty of doing that several years ago with No Man's Sky. And what a remarkable turnaround they have made, because they have made a hell of a game. They have made a more complex, superior game at this moment than Cyberpunk 2077. Hell, their game is procedurally generated. Cyberpunk 2077 isn't. This is a scripted game. Yet they were able to right the wrong, right the ship, and maybe CD Projekt Red will do the same thing. Actually, I'm pretty sure that they will do the same thing. But that doesn't mean that they automatically get the benefit of the doubt from everybody. And there's people caping. IGN is going to cape. You're going to get these multimedia gaming channels going to cape. You're going to get these big YouTube, conglomerate socialites. They're going to cape because they're going to still want their review copies and to be in the good graces of these developers. So they're not going to give you the real like I'm giving you the real and other people are giving you the real on YouTube. They're in it for something, of course. But at the end of the day, honesty is honesty. And if you're a consumer and you're paying for these products, you should get a product that's worth what's advertised. And this is not what's advertised. Hiding product that is not complete and then selling product that is incomplete is stealing to me. That's how I personally feel. And I think CD Projekt Red should do more than just update the game to make it run the way it should run, which is respectably. They should do more than just that. They should go above and beyond that. What that is, I don't know. Reimburse people, maybe that's a bit extreme. But do something. It's just unacceptable at this particular moment. But all is not lost and all is not bad. Like I said, I have fun driving around the city. Neon lights, everything is bright, everything is futuristic. I'm just interested to see where the story goes. I'm at the moment where I went to a strip club and I met this woman who I'm doing a job for, and we're trying to figure out why this rich kid's son is in town. And we come to find out that he has stolen a chip that his father owned, and I believe he's looking to sell it, but we're looking to steal it. Now, this chip, we don't know what's on it, but it seems like we are about to double cross another guy that I had to deal with. And at this moment, that's where I'm at in the game. And like I said, I'm about maybe 10 to 15 hours into the game. I've been doing a lot of side quest stuff. I've been trying to level up V. I've been playing more as a tech, trying to be non-lethal in a lot of ways, unless I have to. Leveling up my tech abilities and opening doors and being able to hack into different camera systems and body components and things of that nature. I enjoy that part of the game because it gives you different play styles to play as. You can go in hot and heavy, loud and proud, or you can go in silent as a mouse and still get the objective completed. So I like the replayability in the game. I like the character customization build. You get to play as whatever gender you want. So if you want to play as a woman, you can play as a woman. If you want to play as a woman with breasts but have a penis, you can do so, and you can do it vice versa. You can have a man with a vagina or a man with a breast. Whatever way you want to do it, you can play your style, your way. It's a heavy character customization screen. I'll be sharing as I'm sharing photos with you guys in this video, which is cool. But the thing is, you don't see your character as often as you think, other than if you're riding a bike or if you're driving or if you're in a cutscene, then you'll see your character. But other than that, this is a first person experience from the jump. I've met a couple of cool characters already. The Ripper Doc that you meet, the first Ripper Doc that you meet, he's a pretty cool guy. I like his personality. He gives you a set of augmented eyes that are pretty cool. The lore in the universe is pretty dope so far, and I can only imagine it being expanded on as I experience much more of the game. Hopefully on my days off I'll be able to dwell into it a little more than what I have already. But that's, like I said, the story is pretty rock solid, right on cue. But it's just the technical things. If you can't get the technical things right, it doesn't matter how great the story is. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. And playing it on the Xbox Series X, obviously the loading is much quicker. I don't know how it is on the PS4 or the PS5 or the Xbox One X or the Xbox S or the Series S. That's a lot of consoles I just mentioned. I don't know how it is on those consoles I just mentioned, but on the Xbox Series X, it's fairly quick. You're not waiting very long, maybe 5 seconds, and it loads in. So you're experiencing those advantages with the next gen consoles. Frame rates do dip when you're doing car scene chasing, of course, which sucks because this game's supposed to run at 60 frames per second, 4K. So I'm getting the 4K, but I'm not getting the 60 frames per second consistently. Now with these patches that are coming out, and hopefully with these next gen updates, or the next version of the game that comes out for the Xbox Series X and the PS5, they have to have a locked 60 frames per second. And I will hope that CD Projekt Red would demand that happens. Now, I don't know if they're going to put their employees back in a crunch type setting to get these updates completed. I would suppose that they would have to do with the uprest of people just being not content with the product. Their stock is dropping in the marketplace at the moment. So, all is not great with CD Projekt Red right now. It's something about credibility that goes a long way. And if you lose it because of your inability to be honest and fair, it's up to you. That's your fault. And I think that they have to take accountability for what they put out. If the game wasn't ready, you should have delayed it again. A delayed game normally always turns into a great game. A rush game is always a bad game. That's normally how it goes. So if you was able to delay it several times before because you knew you needed more time, why front and act like 2 or 3 weeks was going to be enough time to get those games or get the console version of the game ready when you knew it wasn't? They knew the game wasn't ready. But they knew that if they was to delay that shit again, a lot of those pre-orders were going to be refunded. And I think that was the reason why they also allowed only certain reviewers review the game, and they gave them the B-roll of their PC footage, and it was their footage. And then when they sent out the review codes, it was for PC, and then the review codes that were received by YouTubers, they couldn't use their PC footage. They had to use the footage that was sent with the review codes. That kind of defeats the purpose of reviewer. But those reviewers still reviewed the game. And I kind of find a lot of those guys who still review the game and didn't tell us the truth, that's what happened until after the fact. I kind of find those guys and those girls disingenuous. Disingenuous at the end of the day. Like Alana Pierce is in the game. You don't think Alana Pierce had a copy of Cyberpunk 2077? Now I get it. It would be in conflict of interest for her to say, hey, the game has issues and have bugs in it, and I'm in the game. She's in the game. You see what I'm saying? I'm sure she got paid to be in the game. I'm sure she wants the game to perform as well as it can perform so she can reap the benefits. But at the end of the day, that still doesn't mean that you got to overlook your responsibility of being a journalist with credibility and doing the right thing. And the right thing was speaking up and telling the truth. And to be quite honestly, guys, the truth is we received a product that was subpar. So I'm not going to beat CD Projekt Red up any much more than what everybody else is already doing. I said my piece. Let me know in the comment box below. Did you pre-order Cyberpunk 2077? What version of the game are you playing it on? What console are you playing it on, excuse me? Have you experienced any bugs, any issues? What improvements would you like to see? And do you feel CD Projekt Red was wrong for releasing this game? And should it have been delayed? Anyway, guys, I'm Troy. This is Gaming Vibes on a Sunday. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video. And remember, play your games and be happy.